50 million copies sold. The second best-selling album in human history, behind only Michael Jackson's Thriller. And it was recorded in a concrete shack in the Bahamas, with 6-foot fishing spears propped against the door to keep out intruders. This is the story behind the most important 4 minutes in rock history. February 19, 1980. AC/DC singer Bon Scott is found dead in a car in London after a night of heavy drinking. He is 33 years old. The band had just broken through internationally with Highway to Hell, their biggest album to date. Now their singer was gone, and nobody knew if AC/DC had a future. 3 days after Bon Scott's funeral, guitarist Malcolm Young called his brother Angus and said instead of sitting around and moping, "Why don't we do some work? At least that will keep us together." They shut the doors and started writing music. At Bon Scott's actual funeral, his father Charles, known as Chick, pulled Malcolm and Angus aside. He told them directly, "You must continue with AC/DC. You are young guys. You are on the brink of major success, and you cannot afford to give up now." Those words from a grieving father became the foundation of the most successful rock album ever made. The band needed a new singer. Producer Mutt Lange suggested Brian Johnson, the lead singer of a hard rock group called Geordie. Johnson was 32 years old, living with his parents in Newcastle, and working as a windshield fitter at the time Malcolm Young called to offer him the job. Johnson went to audition and walked into a room full of exhausted musicians who had spent a month listening to singers who were not right. Malcolm handed him a beer and asked what he wanted to sing. Johnson chose Tina Turner's Nutbush City Limits. 17 days after being hired, Johnson was on a plane to the Bahamas to start recording. The studio was Compass Point Studios in Nassau. When the band arrived, a tropical storm was hitting the island. The recording rooms were described as small concrete cells, each with a bed and a chair. The owner of the compound warned them about thieves coming in at night and gave every band member a 6-foot fishing spear to keep at the door. Malcolm later said it was a bit of a stretch from Newcastle. At one point during recording, a crab wandered in from the beach, got into the drum booth, and started clacking its claws against the walls. Brian Johnson later said it was cracking its claws like castanets. The riff that became Back in Black had existed for years before the song did. Malcolm Young had been playing it as a warm-up exercise during the Highway to Hell tour 3 years earlier. He had recorded it on tape and almost thrown it away. Angus told him if he did not want it, he would take it. Malcolm held on to it. When it came time to write the title track, Malcolm played the riff for Brian Johnson and said all they had was this and the title. Brian Johnson described looking at them and thinking, "That is it?" But the brothers looked at each other after Brian started singing over it, put down their guitars, and Malcolm said, "Right, let us sit and talk." Later, after hearing the finished mix, Malcolm listened and said out loud, "What the hell? This is a monster." Brian Johnson has said he felt Bon Scott's presence in the room while recording the vocals. He described something washing through him, like Bon saying, "You are all right, keep going." The lyrics, 9 lives, cat's eyes, abusing every one of them and running wild, were written in minutes. Johnson thought they were mumbo-jumbo. The Young brothers heard Bon Scott's entire life in every line. The label Atlantic Records initially refused to release the album with an all-black cover. They said it was unmarketable. The band held firm. Eventually a compromise was reached, the band's logo in a thin gray outline on a completely black background. A tribute in the only color that made sense. The album was released on July 25, 1980, exactly 5 months after Bon Scott's death. It shot to #1 in Australia, the UK, France, and Canada. It peaked at #4 in the US. Over the following 4 decades, it sold 50 million copies, second only to Thriller. And Jay-Z used the opening riff as a soundbed for 99 Problems at Glastonbury 2008 in front of 180,000 people. The greatest warm-up riff in rock history became the greatest tribute in rock history, and then the most sampled moment of Glastonbury's biggest night. Malcolm Young once summed it up simply, "With Bon's death, we wanted to put everything down right. We were really focused on that album, and it turned out to be timeless. I think it will stay that way."